Thankful Thursday, 10 things that I'm grateful for. Stay tuned to the end. The last one's the best.
Hi, my name is Carol, and the name of my channel is Broke but Bountifully Blessed. I'd like to introduce a new series that I call Thankful Thursday. And each Thursday, I would like to talk about 10 things that I'm grateful for. I got the idea from a book that I read a few years back. It's called Unsinkable, and the author is Sonia Riccati. I'll leave a link to it in my description. I read the book shortly before I started this channel. Around that time, I lost my 18-year-old dog. She was around 10 when I got her. Around that time, I went through a pretty bad depression. Shortly after I got her, I lost my job of 17 years. 2 days before that, my ex-husband passed away. And a month later to the day, my 97-year-old mother lost her life. They all passed within a month. Now, I never really liked that job anyway, but I tolerated it, and I had no idea how I was going to survive without it. My husband was my ex-husband, but not so much because I hated him. He was my ex because I heard him say one too many times that I had gotten in the way of his going to Las Vegas and becoming a star. I don't believe for a minute that I got in the way of his being famous, because I know that 1/1000th of the people who have the talent to become a star actually do become a star. And many of those don't really even have any talent. So I don't believe I'm a reason that he didn't become famous. But I do know that I got in his way of going to Las Vegas. And I really felt guilty about it, so I let him go. You know what they say. If you love someone, let them go. If they were really yours, they'll come back to you. And if not, they were never really yours to begin with. So I did let him go. I truly believed that we were meant to be together and we'd soon reunite. As it turned out, he had the chance to go to Vegas. He didn't become a star. And when he became too sick and weak to work in the bar owned by the lady who left with, she called our kids and told them to come and get him. At that point, he was given 2 weeks to live. But once the kids got him, they got him off the cigarettes and fed him. He survived another 5 years. But during those 5 years, I found myself hoping that we'd be mending our fences and get back together. And we'd be spending our golden years enjoying our grandkids together. I really never stopped loving him, and I was quite sad when I found out that he passed. He was the father of my children, the grandfather of my grandchildren. And despite our differences, I could never hate him. My mom had a good long life, and she was a sweet lady. And I wished she could have lived longer. But I had just gotten that dog when they all passed, and she comforted me a lot. So when she died, I found myself consumed with those losses instead of thinking about the great things that I do have or did have in my life. I was consumed with my losses. But I really did begin to heal after I spent time thinking about the things that I do have or I did have. And it's my hope that after you listen to my stories, you'll start thinking about your own lists. And if you do, feel free to share them in your own video. I'd love to see that. Or just leave them in the comments. I am truly broke, but that doesn't really matter much. I am so bountifully blessed in so many ways. Now, both of my parents are gone, but I still do have those memories. I remember looking for a card to give my parents for their 50th wedding anniversary. I found the perfect one, and it looked very similar to this.
Of all the gifts God gave me, the big ones and the small, the gift of loving parents, was the greatest gift of all. Number 1, my parents.
My parents were organic gardeners long before organic gardening was as popular as it is today. They had a huge garden that kept all 6 of our bellies full all year round. Mom canned what was left over after we had our fill. There were still jars of stewed tomatoes left in that root cellar, years after they gave up gardening. Before I was born, they bought an old house with no electricity, no basement, and no plumbing. My dad was an electrician, so he was able to rewire the house. The house was set in the back of the lot, so he dug a hole in the front of the lot and built a basement, then rolled the house to the front of the lot and sat it on the basement, which he had made 1 brick higher than most basements because he was 6'4" tall. He also added running water and 2 toilets, and this all happened before I was born. My dad was very creative and would make all sorts of things out of things that people were discarding. One time I bought him a bunny from the farm up the street for Father's Day. He turned my old crib into a rabbit hutch. One time he bought an old house in the inner city too. He tore it down with the help of my brothers, and he brought home the lumber, which we all helped to build into a 2.5-car garage that still stands there today. He went to work most every day, Monday through Friday, and each day he arrived home at 10 minutes before 4. My mom would have dinner and dessert ready and on the table when he walked in the door. She was a stay-at-home mom until I was a teenager. I remember that she made the best chocolate chip cookies. I asked her for the recipe one time, and she told me she just used the recipe that was on the back of the package of Toll House cookies. They must have changed that recipe because that's what I used when I made my cookies, and they never tasted quite as delicious. On Sundays, she would bake a canned ham, and alongside the ham, she would make barbecued beans, which is what I filled up on. I don't remember eating the ham. I do remember that I was often in trouble for not eating the ham and told to stay at the table until I did. Luckily, my dog Ginger would help me along as I snuck little bits of it to her. I didn't care for meat even back then, except for stuffed pork chops. I love those pork chops.
Number 2, my brothers.
I had 3 older brothers. My oldest brother was 11 when I was born. He was rather quiet. He followed in my dad's footsteps and became an electrician. We lost him when he was only 69, and he left behind a son, 2 daughters, and 10 grandkids. The youngest of my brothers was 5 when I was born. He was the one who was most likely to pick on me when I was a kid. He was in the Air Force and tells us that he once landed a plane on a beach while he was in Korea. The government wasn't happy because they now had to remove a jet plane from a beach in Korea. He also used to come home. He used to rent a Cessna and come home with that and take me for airplane rides. But one year he didn't tell me that he had learned to do acrobatics. So he got up in the air and he flipped the plane upside down and started screaming, "Oh no, we're going to crash." I still can't get on an airplane to this day. He spent his early years working as an air traffic controller in California. At some point, the job became too much for him to handle. He spent many of his later years living on the streets, but is now living in a nursing facility. He has 2 sons, 2 granddaughters, and 9 grandkids. I believe that my middle brother was around 9 when I was born. He was also in the Air Force, and while stationed in Indiana, he met the love of his life, and they still live in Indiana near their 2 daughters and 7 grandkids. Or it could be 4. He was one most likely to rescue me from my youngest brother when I was getting picked up.
Number 3, my children.
I have 4 great kids. My only daughter is the oldest. Her and her husband met in college, and both are now science teachers. She teaches in middle school, and he teaches at the high school. They have 6 kids and live about an hour from me. My oldest son delivers parts and owns a t-shirt shop and sometimes helps out doing security. He's quite tall. He lives out of state with his little brown Shih Tzu named Wookie. My middle son and his wife live about an hour away in another direction with their 4 kids. He has a business and he does commercial moving and storage, and he also installs and takes down cubicles. My youngest son lives at home with me.
Number 4, my grandkids.
I have 10 amazing grandkids. The 2 oldest boys are grown and living on their own with their girlfriends. My oldest granddaughter has her bachelor's degree and is continuing on in school, and she's currently doing her internships out of state. One grandson is in college, working towards a degree in physical therapy. The other 7 are still in school. Over the years, they have kept me entertained with concerts, plays, Little League, and soccer. And the youngest one is in gymnastics. She does something that I always wanted to do, and that is a cartwheel. And she does it like it's nothing.
Number 5, my apartment.
I once lived in my car, but for the last 25 years, I've lived in my current apartment. I've had 4 different landlords, and the building has been sold 3 different times since I moved here. I'm living on a fixed income, but my cost of living keeps going up. My current landlord raises the rent about $50 each time that I renew my lease. So I need to start saving up for a move into low-income senior housing. I'm on several waiting lists, and the last time that I checked, I was number 8 on one of those lists.
Number 6, my balcony.
I love having my balcony. For many years, it was just a place to sit outside at all hours of the night in all sorts of weather. But over the last 3 years, I've been growing food and flowers out there too. I got a few hummingbird feeders from the dollar store, but they don't seem to like them. Or maybe they're just camera shy because I do see them out there. But
Number 7, my stove.
when I moved into this building, only 2 of the burners worked, and the heating element in my oven was restored one time. But my current landlord recently replaced it with a brand new one that I'm just getting used to.
Number 8, my shopping cart.
Some people call it a granny cart. Around the time that my last one broke, someone set my current one out by the dumpster. It was a bit wonky because it had a loose wire, but I was able to get it back in place, and I used my pliers to bend it back into place. It's worked fine ever since. I made a bag with a screen window on it to keep my little dog in it when I take her on the bus. She can go on the bus as long as she's caged.
Number 9, my track phones.
I've had 2 track phones for many years. I love that my minutes and texts keep rolling over. On one phone, I have 12,631 minutes, and on the other, I have 7,187 minutes. On one phone, I have 5,632 texts. On the other phone, I have 12,528 texts. I love that they're so cheap to keep that I keep 2 of them just in case. Sometimes when I can't find one phone, I call myself with the other. Also, when I'm out, I often use up all my power on one phone, but I still have the use of the other phone. I can run playlists on both phones because each has a YouTube channel. Last year, I bought a more expensive Android phone. It cost me almost 10 times as much, but it doesn't work any better. The battery does charge faster and the battery does last longer. But for that price, I could have bought 5 more track phones and had service for them. I use it for YouTube, to make videos, to watch videos, to run playlists, to keep my shopping lists, to-do lists, recipes, schedules as to when to give my dog flea treatments and things like that, and my cleaning lists.
Number 10, all of you.
The last thing that I'd like to add to my 10 things that I'm grateful for is all of you. I really appreciate that you watch my videos, like, share, and comment on my videos, and especially those of you who help me to increase my watch hours by watching my playlists. Thank you for hosting some fun collabs, running my playlists, and posting amazing videos that teach this old dog new tricks and keep me entertained.